Welcome to another episode of The Neophytes, a special series within the Never Close the Inquiry podcast, wherein my good friend Thomas Maybe and I sit down and talk about current issues in politics. We are not experts, neither of us, and that's kind of the whole point. If we repeated our conversation today with the benefit of more time to think things through, it would be different, maybe in small ways and maybe in big ways. The message we're trying to convey is that it's okay not to know. It's okay to keep learning, and it's okay to change your mind. In fact, it's probably good. The fact that you believed something before doesn't mean that when presented with new information or upon reconsideration, you're still locked into that prior view. It's okay, in other words, to never close the inquiry. Welcome back to another episode of The Neophytes. Today we're discussing Iran, well, specifically what's happening in and around Iran.
Did something happen?
Something did.
Oh.
In fact, something is ongoing, I think.
Interesting.
According to some sources. But first, so we have some major developments on the podcast front, not necessarily on the Iran front. So we have a new guest. A new guest today. We have Mr. Channing Elggren, the third neophyte. We're now the third. At least for today, the three neophytes.
It's an honor. It really is.
Good.
Yeah. Very prestigious honor.
Yeah. Well, and we wanted to expand our listener base. 'Cause we've been hearing some stuff from people. We thought we had, I don't know, no listeners that weren't related to us, and I think now we are up to like 6. And you could get us another 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also dramatically raised the average height of the podcast.
Well, I thought you were trying to go for a new group of listeners that had hair. I thought maybe
that was one thought.
Yeah.
That was one impetus.
Yeah. Hair's overrated.
It is, but
we hope.
Yeah, it's something you have to say.
Anyway, so welcome, Channing. Let's start as we always do. Oh, by the way, I understand your wife gave you a vote of confidence.
Yeah. When she was coming over, she was like, "Wait, why are you going?" She's like, "What do you have to offer?" I was like, "Just an average man's opinion." She's like, "Oh, so nothing."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That is the spirit of podcasting. So. Am I a little far?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's the true spirit of podcast. That's the other thing. So because we now have 3 of us, full-grown adult males, one of them now 6'5"-ish, sitting at a relatively small table. 6'4". Okay, well, significantly taller than me, and somewhat less significantly taller than Maves, but still significantly taller than Maves. But we are we had to move away from the boom mics. The boom mics allowed us to sit back in our seats and relax and lean into our incorrect opinions, whereas now we have table mics, which force us to lean forward and go a little hunchback.
Do wonders for my back.
Yeah, I just thought about that.
Mm-hmm. It'll be great.
But I wanted to.
My plan is to get Channing really mad, and then I won't have to say much, and then.
Okay.
I might just leave like halfway.
Well, let's be honest. You probably won't get me mad, but you can get me on a topic that I can talk about.
Oh well, that's
however you want to frame it.
That's that's easy.
It is easy.
Getting you to talk is not hard. It's specifically if I wanted to make you mad about something,
You've known me long enough. You probably know the buttons to press too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's dangerous.
So last thing, a quick note for our sponsors. I believe we have 2 today. So first, we're recording this. By the way, we were recording this Sunday afternoon at approximately 1 p.m. Mountain Time on March 1st. And given that it is the Sabbath, our first sponsor with the water is the Lord.
The Lord, yes.
And then second sponsor, Channing and I are each nursing a Diet Dr. Pepper, which is really darn good.
Delicious.
And a Diet Dr. Pepper actually reminds me. So someone from the neighborhood passed away recently at the funeral yesterday for Tom Curl. Wanted to mention we're going to honor him by having a particularly uninformed discussion about Iran. And I'm not sure that's the way he would want to be honored, but that is what we have to offer. And, that is our might. If we're, like the widow's might, that's our might. And yeah, he coached basically everyone in the neighborhood growing up. So we dedicate this uninformed discussion about Iran to Tom Curl.
He's my soccer coach for 6 years.
Yeah, my baseball and basketball coach for some number of years. Might have been soccer coach at some point.
And I knew who he was.
I wonder if it's fair to let everyone know that we've all known each other for almost 30 years.
We've denied that the whole time. No,
I used to play wrestling games with Channing in elementary school. I was pineapple.
Okay.
And he was string bean.
Yes.
Okay.
And we were I was tall and lanky.
Were you shaped like a pineapple?
I thought of myself that way. I don't know if I was.
He was not.
And then we would just charge at each other.
Yeah. And he would overpower me with his strength.
Yeah, my pineapple.
I'm just realizing, Channing, do you remember I hit a home run off you in 6th grade?
I do. You're proud of
Just got to casually bring that up.
Well, yeah, this is the first time we've had someone on who I've taken deep. Because that's a very short list, actually.
I'm so glad I'm on that list.
Need to find Eric Bowling.
Very proud of that.
Yeah.
For the record, I was like the backup to the backup pitcher, so to take away a little bit of your glory.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not. I mean, I was probably you rotated, right?
Yeah, you rotated. Yeah.
I was probably, I was one of the 3 we rotated through, so.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Okay.
All I had was a fastball. That was it.
Well,
it was the one move.
Not after I hit it. Okay.
It.
So, let's move to the topic du jour. So, okay, Iran.
I don't speak French, so.
Okay. Topic of the day. I apologize for our American listeners.
Thanks.
So, Iran. So, the U.S. and Israel have been conducting joint operations. They have hit, I believe the latest update I saw was they've hit approximately 1,000 targets. Among the targets they've hit, they've taken out the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah, and a number of other senior leaders. They've also, I believe, hit a number of military installations and targets. There have been allegations by the Iranians that there was an elementary school hit, so there have been civilian casualties.
They said it was up to 150.
Okay,
most recent
pretty
one.
significant. And then Iran has responded by hitting U.S. bases in the surrounding countries, and they've also hit commercial targets in surrounding countries like Bahrain, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia.
Dubai, right?
Airports.
Dubai is in the UAE.
Okay.
I say with an 85% degree of confidence.
But with 100% sounding confidence.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
But
they've hit airports.
Yeah.
And other things.
And hotels.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there have also been a couple of ships hit in the Strait of Hormuz. We can look on there, which is a crucial.
Word was 2 ships were shot.
I think 2 so far. 2 commercial ships, and then there have been a number of naval.
The U.S. sunk a Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
at least one. So there's a lot happening, and I think a couple of broad topics that I want to get your guys' informed views on. One, the impetus for the U.S. to get involved and where we go from here. So from our perspective, and so I have some thoughts on that. Then what's next? Like what this means for Iran. We really don't know, but we'll talk about it. And then third, implications for the region, because I think unlike with a number of prior events, Iran has been hitting out kind of shotgun style, I think, with some of the commercial targets in surrounding countries. It's surprising to see.
Yeah.
Surprising to see that. Okay, so let's start first as Americans.
If we have time, there's one more thing, which would be the impending they're trying to get together to talk about presidential war power.
Oh, yeah, we could start with that.
They're going to talk about that as well, because they're trying to get Congress. They're trying to get Congress together to talk about that, which will have much wider reaching implications for us as Americans, right? Of like kind of defining war powers. They're trying to define war powers for the president more. And not only that, they are probably trying to decide how much we're going to get involved, right?
Yeah. So do you want to? Well, maybe that's part of this first topic of like what things look like from the U.S. perspective. So do you want to start with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there needs to be a little bit of history talk. So I do know a little bit about this.
Okay. Let's see. What do you know, and then what can we fill in?
So what I know is that there was President Eisenhower did some sort of operation called Ajax, something like that, and it overthrew the person that was in power at the time and put someone in that they liked better, that got an oil deal that they liked. And then there was a revolution in the 70s where they took back that oil deal and said, we're nationalizing this.
Not exactly.
Okay,
well, okay.
So I'm just saying what I know.
Yeah.
Taking it way back.
So okay.
Because it does matter for like
some of the context of
the reasons why we're doing this, in my opinion.
So let's just go back to World War II. I'm not going to get a lot of the details right, but Britain heavily involved in Iran, and then in the wake of World War II, British and American companies heavily involved in the oil industry in Iran. And then 1953, I'm not going to get his name right, so I'm not going to, or in the lead up to 1953, I don't remember the exact year, but Iran attempted to nationalize its oil industry. So seize its oil for itself, kick out the UK companies, and kick out whatever American companies were there. America and the UK did not like that, so there was Operation, I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty it was Operation Ajax, but we do engineer a coup there that puts the Shah into power.
Yeah.
Or into like more complete and total power. And I don't think the Shah was particularly popular in Iran, but he was fine with us. And so we had, I think, relatively harmonious relations with Iran for the next 25 or so years. And then they had their glorious revolution in 1978.
That sounds actually pretty close.
Yeah. I think it's 1978. And that's when the previous supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, as opposed to, oh man, we're going to get on.
Yeah.
So one of them is KHO, one of them is KHA. KHO led until 1991-ish.
89.
89,
I think
okay.
he died in 89.
When Channing and I were born.
The 80s were great, man.
They were, yes.
It was a nice time to be alive.
Yes.
All 3 months of it for me.
And then, I got 21 days. and then KHA has led ever since.
Which, just as a side fact that I learned actually just yesterday, was that the previous Supreme Leader, he was obviously not popular for a lot of reasons.
With whom?
With a lot of different people.
Oh, you mean the Shah?
No, the first one, because someone tried to assassinate him, and he lost. He lost function of one of his arms.
No, that's this one.
No, that wasn't.
That was this one.
Was it?
Maybe they both lost function of their arms.
Maybe I thought it was the other one. Does he not have function of one of his arms?
I believe so. I think.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, Jamie's from the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Attempt arm. Yeah, attempted assassination of Khomeini. So 1981, the supreme leader who was just killed.
Oh.
Khomeini. So he was then a presidential candidate. So the government of Iran, since the revolution, has had an elected president, but the elected president has not actually had any power so much, But anyway, he was injured after it was June 27th, 1981, in the Abu Zar Mosque in Tehran. He was then a presidential candidate. He was giving a speech for prayers when a bomb placed on the tape recorder in front of him exploded, damaging his arm, vocal cords, and lungs. So,
Wow.
And I believe he lost the use of his right arm after that point. So, okay.
What was the previous one, right? Or was it?
No, it's this one.
This one.
It's this one. Yeah, but before he was supreme leader.
Yeah.
It was under the reign of the prior supreme leader. So, but basically, so you have the Glorious Revolution in 78 or 79, and they take over, and now you have, instead of a fairly pro-Western, westernized place, might not have been the best place in the world, but you'll see pictures go around from time to time of people on the streets of Tehran in the mid 70s, and it looks like Europe, or America. They're wearing Western clothes and all that, and then you have, with the revolution, the institution of an Islamic republic, an Islamist republic, and they've had that since, and they've had two supreme leaders. Their government is kind of complicated.
And in some ways not.
In some ways not, because it all comes down to the supreme leader, who is also the figurehead of Shia Islam. Mm-hmm. So they have an absolute theocracy where their secular leader, quote unquote, is also their theological leader. Mm-hmm. And then they have the architecture of a government underneath that. They have a unicameral legislature with some number of members, like a couple hundred members, and they technically vote on stuff. They either get 4 or 8 year terms, but nothing. They can't do anything without the supreme leader, and anything they do can be undone by the supreme leader. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they actually have a ton of discretion in anything. Then you have what's in power now. I think so that they have a 3-person kind of governance authority that's going to be the interim head. Then the new supreme leader is chosen by an 88 man group of, I'm going to call them elders. That's not what they call them, and I don't know if that's right, but I think it is all dude. Mm. Yeah. So and then the big famous break with the U.S. was in I forget the exact date they did it, but it was either 79 or 80 when they took they stormed the U.S. Embassy, took control of the U.S. Embassy, and held a bunch of hostages for 444 days.
Hmm. And did they nationalize the oil at that point?
At this point, yeah. I don't know for sure. I'm assuming yes, because the state. I know the Iranian state controls some very high percentage of their economy, including oil.
Yeah, and I know that it's been controlled a lot by sanctions and stuff like that, but
that's how we've tried to influence them.
Yeah, but the strait you talked about earlier,
Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, like I think it was 20% of the world's oil goes through there.
That was the
so
I saw too.
Yeah, so this is the strait. Okay, so this is east of Saudi Arabia. It's oh gosh, I forget the name of everything. But what is the name of that sea in there? Dang it. Embarrassing. Forget these names of things. Persian Gulf. Heard that before. 3 Hunchbacks of Notre Dame. Neophytes. Anyway, so Persian Gulf, around the Persian Gulf, you have Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, and the Strait of Hormuz is not that wide. And to get oil out of those countries to the open sea, you have to pass through that strait. So 20% of the world's oil. That makes sense.
And the reason I brought up the history in at all was just because I think it's relevant to U.S. interests now. So, I am of the opinion that it seems like the U.S. has established a pattern of using whatever means at their disposal to kind of move and shift things that will be beneficial for them in the future, like the Ajax thing we talked about. And I'm just suspicious that this is a way, like while there's a lot of good reasons that we can get into for participating in, I guess it's not really technically a war right now.
I think they're calling it a war. It's certainly war-like.
I mean, I think, and that's
War
what
actions have been taken.
Yeah, like it is war, but they haven't. I don't know.
Declared.
They're not like officially saying like
The
this
U.S.
is
hasn't
war.
declared war.
We don't have a good name for it yet.
Yeah,
Working on it.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I just feel like this is another point where they're trying to put someone in power that's gonna some oil.
You're saying
deals.
like we did with Venezuela.
Yeah. So and
I do think there's a little. So I will 100% agree that there will be benefits for the U.S.
Or could be.
There could be
yeah.
for making changes to be more like sympathetic to the Americans, right, and to like keeping our whatever we want flowing. But I also do think this is a little bit of a different situation because we have had this brewing for more than a decade. I believe, for more than a decade, because we've had talks before about nuclear.
It's been brewing
nuclear arms.
in one way or another for a long.
Obama era, right?
Well, Obama era was when they entered into
the nuclear deal, right?
Yeah, the nuclear deal, but it's been brewing for a
long
lot
time.
longer. Like you had the, right from the start of this, where you had the Iran-Iraq War that lasted virtually all of the 80s. Where we're kind of involved in one way or another, and then Iran has emerged, I think, more recently as the preeminent sponsor of terrorism throughout the region. So like they that was kind of how that they they have also they are
the Houthis.
The Houthis, the
Houthis and
or however it's pronounced, Hamas
and Hamas,
Hezbollah,
yeah.
So kind of in Lebanon, in Palestine, in
they like using
Syria.
Proxies.
They use proxies.
That's been that's been his play. Proxy.
And
the Supreme Leader's play.
Yeah, and there's a very good argument that we got to this current point, like everything shifted from brewing to like, okay, now we're going to fight. When on October 7th, 2023, when Hamas goes into Israel, and then Israel's like, okay, we're done, and has really taken how do we put this? A very stern action to wipe out Hamas, and then has gone into Lebanon to try to wipe out Hezbollah, and has been pretty remarkably successful at that, and then has killed Iranian senior leaders previously. And then we had what they're calling the 12 Days War, our war from last June, where it was the joint U.S.-Israel operations to try and take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, and then now. Because I think like some of the causes that President Trump has cited for us to find out don't really make a lot of sense. Like the idea of an imminent threat to America. And the reason, by the way, you say imminent threat is because we're going to get to the War Powers Resolution, where if the president is going to do something without Congress, you generally need an imminent threat. And it is hard to believe that Iran was on the verge of being able to really like attack the territory of the United States.
You can't say that you obliterated
all
their facilities and then be like, oh wait, they're 3 days away from having a nuclear weapon, so we need to go right now.
Yeah, it's like more like it seems more likely that the attacks of last June, while they didn't wipe out everything, they did a lot, and that Iran was not on the verge of it. It seems more like there were two like primary impetuses to go right now. One is the breakdown in negotiations, because I think the U.S. has started taking the position more hardline, like we do not want you to have any nuclear enrichment capabilities whatsoever. And apparently, I heard this on a New York Times podcast, so we know it's right.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
But apparently the U.S. offered, we will give you the appropriately enriched uranium that you can use to fuel like nuclear power plants. We will give that to you for free. and I don't know if there was a termination date on that deal, we'll give that to you for free. So you can get what you actually need out of a nuclear program if you're looking for domestic energy production.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no risk to us that you will use this to go develop nuclear armaments. And Iran was apparently, well, one, they refused that, and then were apparently insisting on being able to enrich up to 20%, which is where you start to get into weapons grade enriched uranium. To enrich for power generation, it's like 3 to 5%.
Yeah. Nuclear armaments is where you start getting into that area above.
Yeah. And then the other particular reason to go right then, I think, is that Israel and the U.S. have been tracking the location of the Supreme Leader and other senior Iranian officials, and the opportunity
They
was
had
there.
a chance, yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that because of the, I don't want to call it success, but because of the outfall of how things went with Venezuela, I think that in part was also encouraging to make moves if they saw the opportunity, because, they're
I think that's 100% right.
like,
No, I think
it was almost like testing the waters almost.
Yeah.
Like once you did it once, you're like, well,
that's the irony. So what Trump is trying to do. So one, Venezuela and Iran.
I just have to stop you there. It's funny that you'd say what Trump is trying to do, and then like anything you'd say after that is just like, okay, like what is Trump trying to do?
So okay,
I'm curious.
So
please do tell.
Okay. So I have some theories, but it seems to me that he's trying to do this thing where you go in and you take out a leader, drop a couple of bombs, and then get out with no or minimal casualties to your people.
Mm-hmm.
And we should note right now, so no one died in Venezuela. So far, 3 American servicemen have died.
and 5 injured or something.
Yeah, it might be, something like that. I think
that news is a couple hours old.
There's
been a lot of
so
missiles
don't know.
recently.
I like our guess at this point, without having more information, would be that those soldiers died in some of the attacks on U.S. bases.
Most likely. Because the missiles were drones. A lot of those things were used with drone things.
The suicide drones.
So most likely, it was retaliatory stuff that our servicemen got.
But like this idea where you go in, you drop bombs, you take out the one person, and then now you have a country that is much more amenable to U.S. demands or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And you have demonstrated your strength on the international stage. You've demonstrated your willingness to do, to use force and use overwhelming force.
And you get upside benefits.
Yeah.
Possibly. From securing interests.
Now, there are obviously a lot of contingencies to that sort of approach. And like the idea that you would be able to go into Iran, which is a very large country with, and we talked about how the government is really centered on the supreme leader. It's like, yeah, that's true, but the apparati of their government are very large and widespread. Like it's not like you took out the little head at the top, but there's a ton left underneath.
Well, I think what they're hoping is the whole, since they are so not cell based, but so split up, that the point is once you attack the glue, that the other pieces start moving.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's what they're hoping.
And the reason I'm skeptical at this point, this is I've been trying to write an article which is like authoritative dispatches from my couch. It's like we know nothing, but what seems to me be a barrier to that is that you have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's like 200,000 dudes who have been kind of the enforcers for the regime, and they're still there. And all these other dudes are still there. And we're saying dudes because it's dudes.
Yeah.
They're still there, and there isn't what you'd want, I think, for a government to collapse is like the person at the top to die or go out, and then have no real organic support for them. But I think
There's been some pretty organic. I think this is another reason why the timeliness of it is.
The protests in January.
The protests. I think the timeliness of this as well is like, hey, we really wanted to do something about this. Hey, it feels like there's a ground swelling. I mean, let's take a shot and see what happens. By the way, I'm not advocating this was a good idea. I'm just playing the side of like, as I'm thinking through this.
Let's just throw those dice out there.
It's just, but like trying to play into it of like, I really do feel like there were a lot of elements that were really kind of falling into place that, I mean, Venezuela happened and then this, and it was just like, wow, look, things can happen. Right?
I think, like, to be clear, I think if there was a Democrat, as the president, I wouldn't be shocked if they did the exact same thing. Maybe not in the way that it was done, but I wouldn't see it as like. I don't think that this is like a strictly a Republican thing to do.
No, and it's
in any way.
No, and also like the idea of the opposing party calling on Congress to vote on a war powers resolution, like that's also a pretty standard thing. Like, Obama did things, I think, certainly not of this scale.
Yeah.
Like, Libya.
He had a ton of drone strikes.
Yeah. No, there were certain things that were done under Bush that were like somewhat like legally ambiguous, where Obama had run on stopping that and then increasing
and it went up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of
there's reasons for that, and like obviously the technology was changing, and that was kind of the main way that they started to do things too. But yeah, it was.
Well, the other I did want to note, because we haven't discussed it so far. Well, and maybe we get to like what's next for Iran. We're kind of organically shifting into. Well, we didn't. In terms of what's next for the U.S., that's the weird thing about wars when you're the U.S. Like, for us,
because they're always geographically
we're separated.
Elsewhere.
Yeah. 12,000 miles away.
They're always geographically
and
somewhere
that's
else.
and that's
for us individually, nothing will change except maybe slightly higher oil prices.
I mean, that's why it feels like
which means everything else gets more expensive.
It feels weird. It feels weird that we keep rolling the dice on. All right, let's take this guy out. Hopefully, the next person's better for us, or we can control them in some way, and then, because that's worked out really well for us the past 50 years.
Are you using sarcasm?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And so that's my biggest criticism is like, maybe if they have a plan for what they want to do with Iran in some way, but Trump just saying, okay, all right, guys, rally, rah, 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 you guys can do this.
I do think you're selling the government maybe a little bit short on that. I guarantee they have operatives who are trying.
I hope
so.
For
instance, they had CIA tracking this guy forever. I'm sure there are people who are working towards a goal in mind. But the thing that comes right back to your point, though, which is absolutely true, is how often does it work, right? Like, I understand, like, having a goal and a plan, and I guarantee there is one, most likely, to a degree, but the effectiveness of it
is suspect.
Is suspect.
Well, Or
are you saying suspect to there's even a plan?
No. I know. I think there's
I'm not saying they don't have any plan, but
yeah, they're not like in the command room. They're like, let's kill him, and then it's like,
right,
what next? It's like, well,
talking to
he'll be dead.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
how do we do this?
Yeah, let's see. They're
how
trying.
Would you
asking different chatbots.
Asking for a friend here. Yeah. Just don't want them to track our data here.
Oh, dang it! I lose my thought. I had a couple of thoughts. Gosh dang it! Oh, yes, I was gonna say. So this is where you have there are a few big tensions between interventionism and anti-interventionism. So, like one of the best arguments against intervening internationally is, one, the devil you know is maybe preferable to the devil you don't. Mm-hmm. And then two, when you introduce uncertainty into a situation, you just can't control what comes out of it. And they can point to all these historical examples where we either were kind of in and out or supporting locals on the ground and depose somebody and it didn't super work out, or it, worked out very briefly. Like, for example, in Iran for some period in mid-century. We're like, that actually worked out. Long term, it really kind of anti-worked out.
Yeah.
Iraq, pretty suspect.
Afghanistan,
and these are like a number of different things where it's like we've tried different things. We've gone in just, and gotten the leader out, and then we get a new leader in, and now we're good until we're not. And then we go in, that's what, like the hard thing for me with toppling a government, like a government of this size, and I know it's unpopular with much of the Iranian people, but nonetheless, it feels like to toss out a government with this robust of a military, you need boots on the ground. But if we do that, one, a lot of Americans die, and Trump obviously, I think, ran on criticizing heavily prior presidents who had put Americans in that situation.
No more wars, President.
No more wars.
Yeah.
And then also, when you have the boots on the ground, let's say you win and you kill everyone, it doesn't necessarily work out. Afghanistan, Iraq, yeah. No, basically, Germany and Japan worked out super incredibly well for the most part, and because of that, we got a little overconfident or over-optimistic or something.
I think also those really can't be compared in civilization, like their society. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those societies were much more, I would say, like, centralized, like their society was. And so, like, once you topple kind of the main part, and as a government and as everything, it was like, hey, and so the people, it was kind of like almost the people were almost bought into it, right? Like, this is where we are. But when you have these other societies where you topple leaders, you have these groups that are all like,
right.
Well, just because you like, no, like that's just because that, like, I'm going to carry the torch, or whatever. And so, this is not the same scenario where you've got whole countries going to war. You've got very specific theological groups and very specific things where, these are mandates of heaven kind of a thing. Now, granted, Japan kind of had that, a little bit of their theology, right, when they were in war, but this is very different. I mean, these people are like, this is our very our spirits that we're fighting for, right? Our souls.
Yeah. Well, and then also, Japan did have that to, I think, a much lesser degree. But it's
still very strong.
To a degree. And
they had an emperor, and then when we kept the emperor safe for a reason.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, we lost more soldiers fighting Japan than we did Germany and everywhere else, and then also we dropped 2 nukes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we lied about having more, or like the threat of having more, because
Japan, they're ready to fight to the last person, and then nukes, unlike I think other more traditional armaments, do probably have a way of changing people's minds.
Yeah.
We can go into that whole discussion.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I mean, we even picked like really non-military targets, which was rough. They were military adjacent targets, and you were like, okay, just because there's a military element doesn't mean like.
Well, the argument was
you have like a freckle on someone's hand, you take the whole hand.
The argument was it's like Japan has built their military installations like into the people.
It was in their cities,
right? But you still dropped a nuke for 5,000 people in a city of 200,000 people.
I think the fire bombings of Tokyo kind of, it was like they ripped the Band-Aid off already.
In terms of civilian casualties.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, we had... Yeah, the fighting with Japan was
digress,
brutal.
Though.
We do digress.
That's what we do.
Yeah, well, so far this conversation has been much too informed.
I will say, just as we get back to it, it'll be really interesting to see about the war powers. I do think...
So what is it that's interesting to you about that?
I think we really need to better define the expectations, and this goes back to Congress, which we all know Congress hasn't successfully really done anything in a long time.
Yeah.
But you keep coming back to the point of like, as presidential powers expand through interpretation and lack of stopping them, you will keep getting into situations where now you have to look at it rather than like what are all the facts, but also you're just kind of like who's the person we put in charge, right? Because it's much more of like it really depends on who is in the office rather than like what are the facts.
Let me. So, that's an interesting point. So, just a little background on the War Powers Resolution or the War Powers Act, War Powers Resolution 1973. So, this is passed during Nixon's second term before he resigns from office in ignominy. For, by the way, we should do a whole episode about Nixon at some point because it's funny. He it was like the Watergate break-in. It was like designed to get information that would help with the campaign and whatnot. It's like that was one of the biggest blowouts in the history of the United States. He could have phoned it in. He didn't need to make. He won all but one state. You did not need additional information that you would have gotten through a break-in. Anyway, I digress. So a couple of key points from the War Powers Resolution provides that the president can send the U.S. Armed Forces into action abroad only by Congress's statutory authorization, which doesn't have here, or in the case of a national emergency created by attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions, or its armed forces. I don't know. Probably not here. And then it also, there's some other stuff you can do, but War Powers Resolution requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to military action and forbids armed forces from remaining for more than 60 days with a further 30-day withdrawal period without congressional authorization for use of military force. So that's AUMF. Or a declaration of war by the United States. So there are a number of well-known AUMFs. Let me get the information wrong, so I'm not going to say too much, but that covered basically Iraq and Afghanistan.
So is the idea that you give the president enough power to react, but then but not enough power to like cause
like the
serious
president
damage?
The president can't go on national TV and say we are now at war with Brazil, and now we're at war with Brazil. It's like no, if we want to go to war with Brazil, which I doubt we do, Congress has to vote on it. One key note about the War Powers Resolution is that it was passed over Nixon's veto. So they passed initially, Nixon vetoes, and then they had to override the veto. So the office of the president has never been stoked about ceding control
ever
to Congress.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It's kind of just how it works.
Well, who wants to give up power ever? When you are like, I can get things done by getting more and more power. Who wants to get? No one. It's.
So what will happen? I mean, but with the veto point, it's like Tim Kaine and Mark Warner and some other Democrats in the Senate, and then Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie in the House. So you have a Democrat and Republican. They've been working together a lot. Worked together on Epstein. Massie.
I'm becoming huge fans of those guys. By the way,
I don't know anything. Surprised by that.
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah,
I have zero. Keyed into like what they actually believe on any issues, but I just love that there's people that are working together on stuff. That just makes me happy.
No,
makes me happy.
Yeah, we like togetherness.
Regardless of what they're trying to do, even it's just like
Massie,
wow, Republicans and Democrats working together. That's insane.
Well, Massie is one of the most interesting people in Congress. So he's in the House. He represents Kentucky. I don't know which district in Kentucky, but he's been there for a little bit. Really interesting guy. He went to MIT. I think he's got a bachelor's and master's, maybe. Big time libertarian. Like his closest analog in the Senate would be Rand Paul. Also from Kentucky.
I think the only thing I knew about him before was he had a picture of his family holding a bunch of guns on Christmas.
Accurate. I was going to raise that. Yes.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Big gun guy. But he also he's been a fairly consistent thorn in Trump's side on issues like this. So big into government transparency. So on Epstein, he's big in enforcing the passage of the Epstein Files Act or whatever it is, and then. As a libertarian, a non-interventionist, big on something like this. But so it'll probably get through. It probably passes in the House. It'll be really close. Probably doesn't pass in the Senate, but let's say it did. they're not getting the supermajority where they could override Trump's veto.
Again, that just brings us back to like Congress do your job, right? Because
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
if you got enough, right, that's
Yeah.
actually been the problem, right? This is how we've gotten to this point, is the fact that we, whoever is in the presidency, you've got some of those party lines and other things that people are like, well, I'll hold with them, on this, and no one wants to get that supermajority, and it really does lead to things where you get situations like this where there's nothing you can do, right? Like decisions are made, and you love it or hate it, you don't have a choice, right? It's
Right.
decision's been made.
Right.
And
Well,
there's
and
nothing you can
where
do.
like like the president effectively can say we're now at war with Brazil.
Yeah.
And then no one's.
He can't say we're at war
Oh.
with Brazil, but he can drop some bombs on them, and then Brazil's like, "What the heck? We're at war!" And he goes, "See, now we're at war.
We're at war. They attacked.
They attacked."
Well, yeah. Now you got the Iranians that have attacked U.S. bases and certain allies in the Middle East.
I mean, they're already calling it a war, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're talking about? Like, there are people already calling this a war. Like, he effectively declared war.
So that's a national emergency created by attack upon the United States Armed Forces. There we go. Now we have a casus belli. Let's go to war. Yeah,
I don't speak French, by the way.
that one is Latin.
I don't speak Italian.
Oh dear.
It's one I probably know like four. Well, no, I'm a lawyer. I know a lot of Latin random phrases, but that casus belli, that's a good one. It's like cause to go to war.
I'll take your word for it.
Thanks.
So I will say though that talking about how effectively we're most likely nothing's going to happen in terms of like change right here
For the U.S.
For the U.S.
Yeah.
So that is a great segue into like, okay, so effectively nothing's changing here, right?
Not
kind
for
of.
like we all live in and around Salt Lake.
Well, yeah, but I mean like
Yeah, you mean for the whole
like
U.S.
legal, yeah, like legally, like
okay.
the powers, like so. Yes, we could be going to war, which would obviously change things to a degree
Yeah.
for us. But now it's kind of shifting into, all right. So how does this actually? What's the outfall for Iran now? Like what?
Yeah.
What's
By the way, you say outfall? Yeah, I say fallout. Is it fallout or outfall? Yeah, that's what you bring to the podcast.
Fallout is definitely a correct term. I don't know if outfall is too, but fallout is definitely an appropriate.
Maybe that's just your phrase.
That's what Channing brings to the podcast.
I bring an opposite perspective.
Yeah,
a different
at least on that one word.
Coming to
So yeah, for Iran, that's yeah. I mean, okay. So a few different possibilities. One, like, what are the chances that they somehow end up with a functioning democratic government that supports and protects broad liberties for its people,
AKA American interests.
Sure. But no, genuinely, like, so here's the thing. Like, it's very easy to look at us getting involved internationally and look at it and be a bit cynical about it because U.S. interests are served by various things. But, like, this government is despotic and awful.
Sure.
Like, they had some protests in January, and they put down the protests by killing, I think, at least 6,500 people.
Yeah, it was tyrannical for sure.
Yeah, wait.
I mean,
I think
there's-
it's more
there's-
than that, isn't
There's
it?
stories.
Up to like 30 or 40,000.
Yeah.
I think the numbers I heard.
I mean, they had stories of the security forces going to hospitals and finding out anyone that got injured in these things and taking them, and them
Yikes.
getting disappeared.
So
Yeah.
for comparison, so I think 3,000 people died on 9/11 here, and 7,000 U.S. military members died in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Wait, you said really? Wait.
Oh, I was just saying. I was like, oh, is it only that? That makes
Yeah.
sense. Sure.
Well, for us, that's a ton.
I don't know if I thought it was closer to 4, but I don't know.
Oh, maybe. But
I can
think about that. Let's call it 3,000 for
Sure.
the sake of argument. And this is Americans who died on 9/11 and in the 2 decades of war that followed. We're at like 10,000, maybe 11,000. Iran killed more of its own civilians, more of its own citizens that in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of stuff that this is where it's like authoritative dispatches from the couch. It's like we do not have a concept, I think, of what it's like to live under.
Not at all.
No, I mean, there's been celebrations. Like,
Yeah.
On the street,
there are people who are very happy about this.
Plenty of people
There
very
are
stoked.
actually people who are stoked.
I only know a couple of Iranian people like who are actually from Iran, and I heard one of them speak, today about how excited she was about the possibility that that things would open up. People who fled as refugees in the 1980s. Like they're a genuinely awful government, and so maybe there's not a 0% chance that you end up with a functioning democracy that protects, that offers more liberties to its people than are offered in a current hardline theocracy.
This is that interventionist feelings, that you start getting,
that's
right?
the thing. It's like that's what's hard.
You start getting that
because
interventionist.
it's like, well, everything could go wrong if we roll the dice and do something dumb here. However, it feels that there's a part, like as a human, it's hard to just kind of sit by and it's like, oh man, they're beating the crap out of the civilians. Not our problem, And we're saying this. None of us have served in the military.
Nope.
None of it. Like if
I've not put my life on the line.
No.
And I really respect people that do.
Yeah, but to us, it's like going to war is almost like pushing a button. Where
absolutely.
It's just kind of upside or a very remote downside in sense of distance, at least. And we don't suffer anything really. It's more like Team America, World Police. We send our boys out and they get
and that's my self dissidence that I have, right? Is on one hand it's the thought of like, well, unfortunately a lot of the time change can't happen without sometimes force, especially when you're dealing with these kind of things.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I can't help but think of the lives of like the people who are suffering and that are going to get caught up in the arms, in the things. I can't help but think of the people who are fighting, and so that's where that inward dissonance for myself is, where you kind of want, I don't want to call it like hero or white knight syndrome or anything, but you're like, well, I want to do something about an injustice. Think about the people that are suffering at this moment, and then you're weighing that, right? And I'll be honest, I'm not envious at all of the people who are in the position to have to make that call, right? It's like, well, which is the greater suffering, right? So it's like, well, here's what I believe the greater suffering is, and by doing this action, I know that it will cause suffering, but that it makes up for it in the thing, and that is such a tough call. Again, I don't know enough to say that this is the right call, but I'm just saying I feel it,
Well, it's hard because I think we do like this idea that everything can be resolved and we can make all sorts of progress simply by talking to people and negotiating and saying, have you tried freeing the people? Or whatever. Have you tried letting them wear pants? I don't know.
You tried letting them go to school.
I tried school. They could learn to read. Who knows? But then you look back at history, and it's like when rights are bestowed and everything like that, most of the time it's not like super voluntary. Like I just read a book Eric Larson wrote on the Civil War, and I heard from a friend that the book had gotten some criticism in that maybe that it too sympathetically portrays Southern viewpoints, the Civil War, but maybe more so that it spends so much time on Southern white slave owner viewpoints and not on the viewpoints of slaves, for example. But I do think it's important to understand. So Civil War, like most of the people involved with it before it happened, they did not think it would turn into what it turned into. This immensely bloody, hard-fought conflict. They thought it would be a brief, bloodless war, and it's easy to forget now as enlightened modern Americans looking back, and we can call it America's original sin. Like there's broad agreement that slavery is bad, but like the South they had convinced themselves it was right, that they were in the moral right. And giving it up voluntarily would, one, amount to a tacit admission that they had been in the moral wrong. It's like you're not going to say, we actually believe this is morally superior, but sure, we'll give them up. Like, no, they are fighting to defend not just their way of life, but their sense of goodness. And we would, from the other side, and granted, when we say from the other side, we're talking about the future because those were my ancestors. But you're saying, like, that they had, it's perverse, but they really did believe themselves to be in the right. And now you've got, in Iran, I think you got a lot of people that are going to be in a similar position.
I mean, how often do you have people that see themselves as a villain? It's actually quite rare. There might be some individuals.
Yeah, maybe like
very
random,
rare.
like random serial killers. Or like
libs.
What?
The libs.
Liberals, sure,
Yeah.
liberals. Yeah. It's like we are the baddies. But you're right. It's like most people, it takes a fair amount of convincing.
I think
the edge of a knife.
Channing's point about he brought up that he was having like some dissonance a little bit, and I just think it's important to recognize that you can have a nuanced opinion on this. Like, you can believe that the decision to go in and try to change things is a good thing, but also be scared about the potential disaster that can come afterwards because we don't know. Like, hopefully there is a plan and they'll be able to set things up so it'll be a benefit for everyone. It's just the fact that we don't have a whole lot of evidence of that working out. And so, if it's a flash in the pan, go in, get out, someone better, and that maybe it'll improve the lives for all the people there, great. But you can still have an opinion like that. It's not like, oh, he went to war and like everything's bad, or there's just it's a complicated issue where I feel like there's such a draw to say this is the right thing or the wrong thing to do, and it's just not like that in this case. Like, there's so many factors involved. There's so many different ways this could have gone, and we don't know how it's going to go. So if this ultimately ends up with a 10-year war in the Middle East again, like, we'll look back on this and be like, yeah,
whoops,
maybe not a good idea.
Yeah.
And then there's an alternate reality where we didn't do anything, and then they get nuclear power and they destroy something. Like, who knows?
No, and it does. It's one of those things too where you look at like North Korea, right? It's almost like a scenario, where like North Korea is trying to become nuclear capable. They had backing and stuff, and then now they are. So now you also have the situation where you're like, well, now the time has passed to like intervene as easily, right? Now they're much more severe. And so I think I agree. I totally agree with you that like, I think everyone needs to give each other a little bit of grace and understanding that everyone has different perspectives and different backgrounds. And so if people are pro or against the actions that have occurred, to understand that, each of us value like some different things a little bit, and that may lean us one way or another. And so, I think as long as a little bit cooler heads prevail, better choices will come out of things that have already occurred.
When you say that, what do you mean? Who's cooler heads?
Well, I just mean before everyone makes it mostly political, right? I think a lot of people like to do that. I think taking a step back and being like, okay, why was this done, right? I don't agree with this actions, right? Try to understand where the other side's coming from.
So you're talking about like domestically us understanding each other.
Sure.
Primarily?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the home point.
Yeah.
The outside, going to the actual Iran part, and our neighbors as well. People are looking at the U.S. and they're a little worried. What are we at? Like 3 months? We've assassinated 2 world leaders. What are we at?
Wait. Well, we didn't kill Maduro.
Oh, true. Right. Sorry. We kidnapped him.
We got him.
We kidnapped him.
Yeah.
Whoa, kidnap.
Sorry.
Whoa. We obtained him.
Sorry, we obtained him.
Yoink. We yoinked him.
Yeah.
Okay.
From his
technical
compass.
term.
So
Yeah.
we've essentially done stuff to 2
Sure.
world leaders,
We have.
escalating escalating from yoinking
Yoinking.
to permanently disappearing. What do we want to call this one?
Oh, he's dead. No, we killed him.
Okay, we
Yeah.
killed him.
Well, I think Israel technically dropped those bombs
Well,
with our support.
with our signature on the bomb, and possibly from us. It was probably our bomb. that they
With
sent.
love.
Very possibly.
Very
like
real, our bomb.
Raytheon made the bomb. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see the outfall from it and to see what it'll be interesting the people that were, I'm not gonna call it wasn't, who were demonstrating, they went through a lot and it's settled down a little bit. The real question is do they still have the energy and the fire to use this?
So that's a good question. So Trump, he puts out a video and he's said a number of, not tweets, but truths. He said in a number of truths, like, Iranian people, like, this is your time. You're not going to get a better opportunity for generations. Now, who knows if that's true, but Trump is, Nostradamus. But this is your chance. Rise up. Like, we have paved the way for you. It's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like the very heavily armed military with all the guns that still supports the current regime or idea of the regime is going to present an obstacle to the uprising by peasants with pitchforks.
I also think the Iranian government's reaction, which is retaliation, which I actually can't fully blame. I mean,
what are you going to do?
If something happened to us, you bet our retaliation would be swift and fierce.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think that as a message to the average civilian is, the Iranian government's lashing out at everyone.
Yeah, that's been
they
interesting.
have alienated. Not that they had great relationships with many countries that they have attacked.
Sure.
But they have. They're lashing out. And I think as an average citizen, now granted, they get pretty heavily censored stuff, which is one of the whole reason that they were having kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But you have this, and you just see this lashing out. How terrifying that is for your family, right? You have a government who is in pure cornered defense mode. It would be pretty hard to be like, this is our moment when you see them at full DEFCON 1, ready to drop
that
ordinance on you.
I tell you, this is going to sound bad. What it reminds me of, there's a little bit, maybe a lot of bit, to Trump of Lord Farquaad from Shrek.
Okay.
Where he's
Where
talking to
with
the
this?
people.
He's like, there's a
Some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good one.
Like if these, thank you, the various civilians rising up, and I don't know if it's pitchforks or if they actually do have sophisticated armaments, hopefully somewhere in between. But if the citizens of Iran try to take on the Revolutionary Guard Corps and the other, installations of the Iranian military, going to be a bajillion casualties.
Yeah.
It is not going to be like a bloodless. The RGC is not going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, and
apologies.
And that's, sorry about that.
Apologies.
Oh gosh, I see in retrospect that could have been very awkward for you when I murdered all your cousins. And also they have a strong incentive. That's the other thing about the current regime. They have a strong incentive with respect to their own people to keep fighting.
Absolutely.
Because.
Yeah.
When despotic regimes lose power, they don't typically get a gentle retirement in a mountain villa.
It's going to be more French Revolution style with the.
I think it's most revolutions. It's like French,
rolling.
Russian. Yeah, it's like now you're out of power and we
civil.
are going to.
Ours was bloody.
Well,
ours was a little different.
we,
right?
Ours is much more.
we let a lot of southern things slide.
Yeah, we did. We a lot of pardons. We didn't do what has been done in many other countries where it's like, all right, we kick these people out of power, and now we will
get even.
Yeah, we're gonna kill all of them. It's like who's in charge? We should kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then also the Shah, the prior Shah, and now the Shah's son is like, all right, Iranian people, take power back. I am willing to lead you. It's not totally clear how entirely popular he is. I think he is the symbol of the resistance for some people. It's a fellow who largely grew up in the U.S. and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot about Iranian politics I don't know. So maybe he actually would be welcomed as their leader. But there is like the IRGC, basically the current administration and everything. They have many incentives to fight hard for their own survival.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of people, obviously. There's also going to be people who are trying to get that power, right? There's going to be some power plays because you don't have these kind of governments set up on the goodness of their own heart. So there are people who are willing to fill this
There's
void.
going to be a little bit of, I could be supreme leader.
I could be supreme leader. I could be religious.
Yeah, you need a cleric.
Well,
Read the Quran.
They actually loosened the requirements for this most recent supreme leader because previously the requirement for cleric things have been like higher, and then they lowered it so he could be it because he didn't meet all of the previous requirements.
Yeah.
So you could always move that again.
Lower it a little further.
Get
Yeah.
But so yeah, man. There's gonna be stuff. There's going to be stuff going down.
Well, and then also everything we've heard from U.S. officials so far has indicated that the operation will continue for weeks.
Yeah, they said. Yeah, well, they say at least a week, and then possibly more weeks.
So
even I heard Tom Cotton say like 4 weeks.
If Congress does something, by the same law, he would still be able to do stuff for 60 days.
Well,
is
not
that
necessarily. Well, we don't have any troops in, so
we don't have any troops. So that's the other issue. So he built up all the forces in places that are like U.S. bases, ships, like all these things that technically we haven't invaded anywhere. And then you launch a bunch of ballistics in some place, you blow stuff up, and then you're like, my troops aren't in there. So like technically, this law was written long before the range of influence. I mean, we can attack people across the world and go, I don't have any troops over there. What,
Schrodinger's missiles.
We could do a fair amount of that in 1973. But yeah, we can do more now.
Much more effectively now.
Yes, right.
And it's also much more of the standard MO of war, right? I mean, at least for us, we do a lot more. I mean, we obviously have boots on the ground, but we do a lot more strikes, from the air, from all these different things. I mean, you don't have to have boots in the same country to conduct a pretty decent war.
Well, so that gets back to the question of war strategy, a subject on which we're all well versed.
Yes.
But it is not
With
yet.
my time in the Navy.
Yeah.
With my time playing real-time strategy games.
I was going to say that's I think where our
playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, there you go. I'm terrible at that, but it is not. I'm not aware of any example of using solely air power to win a war.
I think a question that I would love to know, which I'll probably never know, but it'd be interesting. Was there any coordination whatsoever with ground efforts of Iranian,
paramilitary
paramilitary stuff? Because in a feeling of mine that is a little worrisome is like, okay, so you kill some people that were in charge, right?
Yep.
And even if we were perfectly strategic, only killed them, right? No, we'll call them casualties in the way of because we meant to kill people.
Yeah, and
targets we got
and
collateral.
Collateral. Thank you. No collateral.
So
we're perfect.
No more kids accidentally
Surgical.
killed.
Yeah. Surgical strike.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, citizens, arise, right? Arise and do your thing.
Riders of Rohan.
And we all know that there would be a military requirement to that uprising. We all know that. There's violence. Was there any coordination, right, with the people to do that? Because, okay, give people an opportunity. Awesome. I can understand that. But are they ready for that moment? Why set people up for failure, right? Why do something that no one can capitalize
No,
on?
I can tell you right now, we are in a very different situation here in the U.S. and I recognize that many on the left, hate Trump, and many on the right hate Nancy Pelosi, I guess. But if I got the memo, it's we're taking Washington and Trump's down and we're all going in. I'd be like,
That's not apples to apples either. Your
No,
family isn't in moment of terror from the local thugs who are actually basically part of the government.
Yeah,
live
that
in
would be
constant-
that. See, for me, that depending on the context, that would be like another reason not to go.
I know.
Whereas
right?
here, I'm saying no. Now, great. Okay, we're apples and I don't know.
Zebras.
Yeah, apples and zebras. So maybe bad example, but yeah, no. Your point about like, are they ready? Like, are they just like heading into the weekend or heading off for work, and it's like, all right, your president's dead.
Make change.
Do you want to be president?
Yeah.
You might not be ready for that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think I do think that hopefully there's something going on there.
Oh,
Because you're right. Without boots on the ground, all you're
Like-
doing is just
like
Killing people.
someone's boots need to be on the ground.
someone has to be
Yeah.
for any change to occur.
Yeah.
Because they have boots on the ground.
A lot of
And
boots.
a lot of boots.
A lot of
And
boots.
If you don't have some what? Right?
Yeah, like you need someone to go occupy
what are you doing?
something. Yeah. Getting briefly to the implications for the region.
All the travel that stopped, all the people who are stranded.
But I'm thinking, right, there's that. But I'm thinking it's kind of interesting. Over the last couple of years, Iran's sphere of influence has been, so far, I think, diminished
Shrinking.
significantly.
Because their proxies have been shrinking.
Yes, because Israel has attacked those proxies with our, I think, consistent
Our
support.
proxies, their proxies, proxies.
Yeah. Proximal, Proximus. Yeah, and it seems like many Middle Eastern countries, though certainly Islamic countries, and certainly, though they certainly do not offer the same rights to their citizens that we do, and that many European countries do, and that some other Asian and African countries do. Maybe they are interested in their economic. Basically, they see it to their serious economic advantage to connect themselves to the U.S. and Israel, and says something like that, where it's beneficial for everybody. We're seeing Saudi Arabia. What's the term? Where it's like they're trying to whitewash their human rights abuses. It's not money wash.
Laundering.
Human rights laundering. It's something. No, but where they're putting a ton of money into all these things, where people in the West are like, oh, can't be that bad if they pay that much for a soccer team. And
Yeah, they're doing a lot.
a ton.
So much.
The Emirates, a lot of them are. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing about where this could be.
I
in
mean,
10 years.
I've read that there are two of those Middle Eastern countries that are pretty large. I think Saudi Arabia was one of them, but was just like they're stoked about this attack. In some ways, because this Iran is a flashpoint, and having them there as a neighbor, an unstable neighbor, right? And you're just like, come on, guys, like, let's just, because this is bad for business. This is bad for everything. Who wants this unstable neighbor? And I think they're excited for the option of maybe change can happen, right? And who knows, maybe they're eyeing their interests as well in terms of what can they take out of it. I mean, Iran has made no friends, and they're with their diminishing power too, and then their retaliatory strikes against everyone. Like, I think I was really surprised to hear that they were just like they had struck out at like Saudi Arabia and all these other countries. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you be like, hey, you guys could be next? Like, why wouldn't you try to, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Even though they probably wouldn't fall for that line, right? Because it's a very different situation. But, like, why wouldn't you reach out to your neighbors and be like, turn the region against
the U.S.
The U.S. and the outsiders?
Rather than-
Why would you just start outstriking and be like, you're friends with them,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Because now all you do is just, I mean, you see this, and Saudi Arabia was like, they were that terrible neighbor that we've felt like they are this whole time,
Yeah.
And so, all they could, I mean, now all they could be doing is like, yeah, we'll give, if military operations increase, sure, we'll give you help. We'll assist in making it easier for you if you fight this war. And I don't know. It does seem like poor decision making, but that also has kind of been their MO. Iran's MO.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I heard someone else say that what they've done so far, it's been indiscriminate in the sense that they're going after all these different countries and they're going after some commercial targets, not just military installations. Mm-hmm. But that it's also not that bad or crazy heavy an attack, which makes you think, question whether, one, they're holding something back for a bigger attack or looking at trying to sustain something, or two, they have their capacity is at like a low ebb, and they really just can't do more.
Yeah. Like that is their vengeance.
They're like, this is all they've got.
Yeah, I mean the state TV broadcast after they announced their leader's death was basically saying, like, Trump he'll suffer more than any other person ever for what he's done. And it's,
I would call their bluff.
It's hard to see how they do that, but also there's lots of horrifying creative ways that
they can make other people suffer. Not even the people who made the decisions.
No.
Not even the people who made the decisions. They can make the other people, it's really, that's the hard part of people who make decisions, is that usually the people who make the decisions are often very insulated from the consequences of their actions.
That is actually one really interesting thing about Trump. And let's make this one of the last things we talk about. This has been one of our top 10 most informed conversations about the Middle East, by the way.
Top 10.
Top 10. Probably only had 2. Yeah. But this will be top 10 for a while. I meant to bring that up earlier. So, if you go back in time, the traditional form of war mostly involved the wealthy and powerful decision makers sitting in their palaces and saying, you should go fight the French. And then all of the people go and they fight each other and they kill each other in trenches for a long time. And then eventually the wealthy and powerful are like, okay, I feel like you guys are winning. And then they come to a deal. Whereas, and then, there are some exceptions to that, but there's a lot of leading from behind. And obviously in the U.S., for the most part, we, the presidents have only been assassinated by, like, our own people, pretty much.
Americans?
Pretty much. Basically, there hasn't been an assassination where it's like, the Philippines, that they Filipino militants. No, it's like an American or something, with as a president.
But that again speaks to the scare of the hell and fury that would come down on any country's head if our leader was assassinated, right?
Yeah, maybe we do. Yeah, and I think our system is such that you'd have to kill a lot more people for it to fall apart, because we have a nice long line of succession. Sure. We have a pretty clear idea of what happens in certain situations. But it's interesting because I think Trump, in certain respects, he takes a more skeptical look at anything traditional, any norm, says, why would we do that? And so he sees this, and it's like, why would we fight the Iranian army if we really just want to kill the guy in charge? So let's kill the guy in charge. Uh-huh. And it's not the craziest idea in the world.
For the record, I could fully see Trump not feeling like this is a war. Like, he has accomplished his objective.
Yeah.
And been like, why would we call this a war? He's like, we killed those people.
Yeah.
Our part's done.
Yeah.
I could very well see that. And I'm not saying that there aren't other mechanisms behind the scenes, but I could honestly, like you said, being very skeptical of the thing of like, well, we did this. That doesn't mean we have to declare war. This doesn't mean we have to do this. We had an objective. We accomplished it. Now it's up to other people to take that opportunity. He didn't meet the deadlines. He was a imminent threat. Whatever he wants to say.
Yeah, for those who are listening and not watching, you did quotes. Imminent threat.
Yeah. And that's that for him, right? I mean, it was a transaction. There's not outfall of this. It was
Yeah.
He was just making a
Sorry,
deal.
Fallout.
You also said outstrike earlier. It's like, I've never heard that.
I didn't comment on it. I just let it go.
You're bringing a new.
You're like Shakespeare, man.
I hope your kids all say stuff like that.
I hope so
That'd be
too.
really funny. It's like it's literally just the Elggren family.
The Elggren family.
I
should start homeschooling them.
What were we talking about? Something.
Well, about
to Iran.
how Trump. It's a transaction. That's
Right? The transaction. Yeah, it's like with steep consequences. Like, we can make a deal. If you don't make a deal, we'll kill you. And it's kind of Well, I guess.
So the deal's done.
I guess. And then he'll try to make a new deal with whoever comes in power next.
He could also look at it as, I mean, he is a businessman, has been for a long time. He could see it as just getting rid of one of the people at the table, right? Like, hey, this person's unreasonable. Who's next to the table to talk, and to try to get, make a deal or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
we'll frankly, maybe we'll have another emergency podcast on Iran in a couple of weeks. I mean, if something is...
Hope not.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or it could be a good one. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe it's like, wow, guys, this happened.
Wow, we're having a democratic revolution.
Yeah.
They're voting on stuff, and their women can be free and
they go to school
and vote.
I think the women do mostly go to school.
Are they allowed in Iran? I think it might just be Afghanistan right now.
Okay.
That's been completely shut off. Yeah,
the women are not allowed to go to school.
They can't do anything
Afghanistan
now.
right now.
I heard something about how under the supreme leader, Iran's literacy rate for women actually doubled-ish to like 81%.
Just 81%.
Wow,
that was way higher than I thought it was.
Still not high, but
but
it's higher than it was before it doubled. Let's put it that way. But yeah, not significant rights for women generally.
Yeah,
really insignificant.
And not significant rights for just kind of the average person. I mean, which is what has been.
Yeah, like if you didn't want to be a hardline Shiite Muslim, probably limited ability to not be that.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to kind of take a page out of China's book about the whole censorship thing in North Korea's, and it has not been incredibly successful.
No. Well, and it's been interesting to see. So what you're referring to, I think, is that the Iranian government, the ability, they've shut off the internet. Like anytime the protests start getting big, they shut it down. And then Elon Musk flew a bunch of Starlink satellites over there to bring the internet back at some point.
Didn't he take it off?
He might have.
I thought he shut it down for some reason.
He shut down Russia's ability to use it, but I don't know if he did for Iran.
Interesting. Anyway, so that's where we're at today. We have a lot of questions.
It'll be very interesting to see as information comes out. What were some of these things?
Yeah.
Were there impetuses, that were like, oh, this actually was more urgent than we thought? Who knows? Just saying.
Yeah, that would
maybe
that would be a more surprising revelation than others, but
although highly likely, Trump could come out and be like, "We saw an opportunity and we took it."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And now we have 6 more oils. Yeah. We'll.
I don't know. We're gonna see how gas prices go.
Yeah.
Because right now they've shut down the shipping lane for 2 days.
Okay.
Tons of people are stranded. Anyone in the Middle East right now, they've closed flights for like 4 of the countries right there are completely stopped.
Yeah. Okay.
The largest I don't know how you want to say it, recovery of British citizens is underway. Britain's trying to recover their citizens who are stranded.
From where?
From the countries.
Okay.
So far they have 76,000 that have reached out that are stranded in the countries, and they expect that to go up. So it'll be interesting to see how. And they said it was going to be the largest kind of, I don't remember the correct word, but recovery of trying to get them all home, with whatever means.
Rescue?
No, I don't know. Not a rescue per se, but it's like just trying to help everyone. To get home.
All right.
Like and that may include using military craft or whatever, depending on the areas and stuff. It'll just be interesting to see how that all falls out. I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, my nerves would be very high if I were on a commercial airliner going out of Kuwait right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Iranian government said, hey, we're not going to hurt anyone in the shipping lanes, so you can let the shipments go. But then we did hear of two, or something like that, where some were things, so they just shut it all down. But Iran has claimed that that's not like a thing. Everyone should be able to go through it. The rest of the world's like, you don't have the best track record at saying we want to attack ships.
Yeah, right.
Proxies.
It's like,
anyway, so yeah, it'll be very interesting, and hopefully, good things will happen. But history is not optimistic.
Yeah, well, we shall see. And those are the initial thoughts on Iran from the Neophytes.
Rah, rah.
All right.
Go America. Right, guys?
Yeah, I think, yes.
Right. Okay.
All right. Bye now. All right, and that was the interview. Thank you very much for listening. If you wouldn't mind, please do leave a review for the podcast. I believe those are important. And subscribe to the newsletter, which will be linked in the show notes, or can be found at neverclosetheinquiry.substack.com. Thanks.